Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Catalyst webinar series presented by the Education Committee for the Southern California PGA. The Catalyst webinar series is a bi-weekly educational platform for creating success and change in your club and career. Very excited to be interviewing our two players of the year, Michael Block and Dr. Alison Curdt. Michael is the player of the year for the Southern California section for 8 of the last 9 years. He's played in numerous PGA Tour events, and his reputation precedes himself, no doubt. And Dr. Alison, she is the 2015 National Teacher of the Year, the 2016 Section Teacher of the Year, amongst many other awards that she's received outside of her playing ability. And she's also the 2021 Female Player of the Year for the section. Good morning, you two. Thanks for joining us this morning on the webinar.
Good morning, John. Thanks for having us.
Good morning, John.
So for those of us attending this morning's Catalyst, this is an interview fireside chat format, no presentation, PowerPoint, as many of you are used to. And we've gathered some questions from many members around the section that are dying to ask these two. First, the subject of today's webinar is work, life, and for these two, play balance. So we'll start it off, ladies first. Doctor, how do you rank your work-life play balance, and kind of give us a percentage of time in a given week that you chop up amongst the three?
That's a great question, and I've been thinking a lot about this webinar the past week and about what truly balance means, and if it's actually something that's attainable, or if our life is always constantly a little bit in flux, where we might spend more effort and work a particular month, or during the summer months we might have more energy towards family. And so I don't really know that I'm completely balanced in all aspects of that word balance, but I do know that when there's something presented in front of me, I put 100% of my effort into that. So when I'm in front of my work, 100% effort into that, and that takes up a large portion of my day-to-day world. Work in 2 aspects, so full-time teacher outdoors, but then I also run my private practice for athletes in the psychology field, which has really been booming as I've been picked to be part of an Olympic team to help those athletes perform their best. So that's been really lopsided right now. But then I recently just came back from a tournament, the PGA Women's Stroke Play. And leading up to that tournament, I put 100% effort and passion into that. So I might have blocked out some areas of my schedule from lessons and pulled a little bit from the teaching world so I could have some more time to prepare for that tournament. And then, of course, I have my family life. And so that sometimes for me, on a negative note, comes second, maybe third, because I am very driven in my career and my playing. But then it does circle around and will start to balance itself out, or it will start to have the energy that it needs to when it's ready. So I don't know if that completely explains your question, but I will say that I'm always sort of debiting and crediting those different areas of my life when they need it. And then as long as I feel like I'm at peace and harmony and I'm passionate and fulfilled in what I'm doing, then to me, I think that means balance in that area of work, playing, and personal life.
Fantastic. And Michael, how do you handle those debits and credits between work, life, and play?
So, I mean, honestly, it's what I've done a long time ago. I try to figure out, I'm a family first guy for sure. That's how I was raised from my parents a long time ago. And then basically at the beginning of my career, I tried to figure out where I could see myself and what would make me happy as far as a career would be concerned. But then at the same time, being able to be with my family. So if I would have just been, let's say, try to go to Q school for 5 years in a row in my young 20s, I knew for a fact that I'd be gone 30 some weeks a year, et cetera, which is something that I never wanted to do. I always wanted to run a club. That was just my deal. That's been a goal my whole life. I knew if I did that, I'd be at home. I'd be able to have my family at the club. I'd be able to golf course every day of my life, which has been my whole goal from the beginning. I've had a Golf Pro parking sign above my bed since I was 4 years old. So it was pretty obvious what I want to do from a young age. And a lot of people always ask me why, you know, I didn't want to be on tour, and I'm sure the money be great, whatever else. But at the same time, I figure the life that I now have that allows me to be with my two boys and play golf, you know, with my wife, and still be able to do and live my dream is pretty cool. But it's definitely something that I set out to do as a goal at a very young age. And I was lucky enough to understand when I was in my young 20s that I wanted this to be my life and not to be on tour. So I didn't waste 10 years of my life out there struggling on many tours and spending a lot of money at Q school. So I'm glad it worked out how it did.
So Michael, when we talk about play, does play feel like work because it's just like work is doing, it's taking you away from family?
No, it's no, I don't even see anything of it taken away from me from my family at all, because I still get to spend, you know, a lot of time every night, pretty much, even when I'm out in tournaments. They're either traveling with me or it's local here in the Southern California section. I'm there that night. You know, so I don't really miss out from the family too much for as busy as I am, and for as many events as I play, and for as much as I'm here at the club. So it's worked out great. I couldn't, you know, I'm very lucky to be in the position that I'm in right now.
So doctor, for you, do you catch play ever feeling like work because it's not family and not personal time?
Play for me is a little bit different. Competition does not feel like work. Competition feels like what I was born to do and what I funnel a lot of my passion and energy into. I don't get a lot of recreational play. I actually don't enjoy a lot of recreational play. I love playing with my family and my close friends, but to just go tee it up and hang around the golf course, that doesn't drive me. Competition drives me. And so it never feels like a job. It feels like that's kind of what I'm meant to do, and that's what fills me up.
Now, in your private practice, when people speak about their work-life balance, what are some of the tricks of the trade or some of the firsthand experience practices that you can use in your own life that you also advise them on?
So I first have them fill out a profile on what all aspects of their life are being in demand right now. In demand being work, family responsibilities, personal responsibilities, hobbies, interests, and then maybe even play or competition if they're an active athlete. And then we look at how much percentage of time is being spent where. And if there's a major lopsidedness, we look at if it's even realistic to begin to quote unquote balance that out. Or in the case of an Olympian, that may not be realistic because that is their true job. That is the one thing that they're meant to do for the next 4 years. So then we start to look at what are some of the expectations and what are the narratives and beliefs around how much they're spending their time, and ultimately if it fills them with passion and joy. If there's areas of their life that is contributing to negativity or they're doing something that they're not really interested in, we make sure that that's a minimal part of their life. So we look at making sure that the things that they're spending the most time doing is what brings them the most joy. Finally, I think that it's important to have a support system. Like in Michael's case, he talks really warm-heartedly about his family and how traveling to tournaments, he gets to bring his family and enjoy in that. Looking at a support team around you is incredibly important. If you have a bad competition, do you have people that you can talk to that are maybe not your coaches that can give you some unbiased perspective on how to deal with it, how to cope with it? Having people to talk to in your inner circle that you really trust. I know for me, when my performance is not living up to my expectations, there's about 3 or 4 people that I know that I really trust and can reach out to, and that's my support network. Then I know that I've got my family back in St. Louis and I've got my family here in LA that they'll support and support me in my mental health, in my physical health, in anything that I'm doing. So I think that support team is extremely important. And then balancing that out with all the other requirements that an athlete might have.
Well, particularly those requirements that an athlete might have in terms of playing not up to your expectation, playing poorly, the negative thoughts and feelings that come with that and the pressure that that builds. How, because in work, you could manage that by teaching less or not overworking yourself. You have more control over that. But the ability at which the level at which you compete, a lot of times you don't have control over that. How do you handle the negative feelings and impressions that you get from playing poorly or from practicing too much?
Well, working with a sports psychotherapist or psychologist can be extremely helpful. Taking an inventory on, like we said, the debits and credits of one's life. Is there too much negativity coming in? And can that person start to minimize those interactions or those roles and responsibilities? Is there anything in training that could be modified? I'm not sure how much Michael prepares before a major or before a section event, but I'm sure he's got a formula that fits for him, that fits his lifestyle. And does that schedule fit the athlete's lifestyle? And can they modify that? What sort of input are they bringing into their environment? Is there negative music? Is there positive music? What kind of books are they reading? What kind of TV are they watching? And really filling their environment with supportive and positive things to make sure that everything that they're doing is they feel like they're in control and they have choice. And I think that's really empowering for the athlete.
In terms of your work-life play balance, Michael, how do you handle playing poorly or negative energy that comes from not performing to your caliber or not being able to practice to perform to your caliber? How do you handle all that?
You know, I've always, I mean, yeah, my poor play tends to be in PGA Tour events, but people are always like, "Oh my gosh, wait, you shot 76, Mike." I'm like, "Yeah, have you ever played Torrey Pines?" You know, it's a little different out there on tour, and I'm every time after a tour event, you know, and I haven't lived up to what, you know, I feel my numbers should be. I always say, I'm just glad I have a job. You know, I'm glad I'm still getting a paycheck. I'm still going back to work. You know, thank goodness. I can't imagine being on tour, struggling and having a year long of struggles. And I played with a gentleman just at the Farmers 2 weeks ago, and you know, they haven't made a cut, and the wife's, you know, complaining about how much money it's costing them weekly, and there's no checks coming in. I was like, shit. I'm like, I made one heck of a great decision, you know, getting the PGA of America and getting a job and doing what I'm doing, because if I'm out there, man, on the PGA Tour, if you're not making the cut, you're not making any money. You're not actually even making money. You're losing money, because it's very expensive to be out there traveling to these areas that they do. So, you know, playing poorly, it's a struggle. You know, most of the time when I play bad, I go, okay, what did I do? You know, I sit back and I analyze what happened. Was I not prepared? Did I not practice the correct things? Or was it in the actually heat of the battle I'm out there playing that I made poor decisions, which is what I did at Torrey. I short-sighted myself in spots that you just can't do it. And I learned from it. And so my goal is to make it back to Torrey and not get my butt kicked as bad next year. And you know, that's what I'm already taking from it. And I'm not going to harp on it. And I love what Alison was talking about a second ago, as far as how you put yourself in a positive mental frame, even if you've had a bad round. I'm a music guy. I love loud, happy, like Milky Chance, you know, music, cruising, you know, loud in my car. I mean, you can really hear me bumping when I come into a section event. I mean, I'm sitting there, I've got my windows up, but you can still hear Michael Block coming into the parking lot. I guarantee it.
So obviously, Dr. Curdt is very structured and very regimented. She couldn't do what she does if she wasn't. You've always had the reputation, certainly from my point of view, of being very jocular, very gregarious, very easygoing. And that paints the picture in my mind, and probably a lot of people's minds, that you probably don't practice and grind and have a very regimented practice program. I'm sure that's not true. Can you talk a little bit about how you practice your game, or if you do at all?
I did it all as a kid, to tell you the truth. My parents would drop me off at the club at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they'd have to pry me off the course at Whitmore Country Club in the dark. And that's what my passion was. And I could just sit there and chip for 6 hours straight. That's just what I love to do. I still could do that now, but I just don't have the time for it. But I really did get all my practicing in back in my younger days. Now I don't have nearly the time. When I do have a larger event, I try to find that time. I try to put it on my calendar, kind of like what Alison said, block off, you know, rather than teaching 3 hours that afternoon, I'm actually going to practice for 3 hours that afternoon to prepare for a larger event. Outside of that, I just find it very important for me to know what my golf ball is doing, know if I'm hitting it low left or high right or dead straight, whatever it is. I'm going to play whatever I have that day, which is a big key. I'm not going to struggle and try to do something that I have to try to do. Whatever's natural that day, that's what I'm going to go with. And I've always lived in a mantra where I try to make the hole look as big as possible, which I'm sure we've all done that, where you go out and play in an event and the hole looks smaller than the golf ball, right? We've played like that. And then at the same time, hopefully we've all had the experience where the hole looks like a basketball hoop. I try to set myself up in every way I can to make the hole look as big as possible. And that isn't just from practice, that's from life. So if my life, I feel, is in a good place, I didn't get in a fight with my wife the day before I left, or my kids are, doing well, or whatever it might be, or my job, I don't have anything stressful going on at work. Those things all together make the hole look bigger. And when I show up for a section event or a PGA Tour event, my goal is to have set myself up, my life, in a way where the hole looks very large.
So if you're not preparing for a PGA Tour event or a major event, there'll be stretches of days and days, maybe weeks, where you don't practice at all, just the occasional round of golf or the occasional section or chapter event?
Yeah, you almost never see me on the driving range. If I'm on the back of the range, Bobby Laskin, he'll look at me, he'll know. He's like, do you have something big coming up tomorrow? Because if I'm actually hitting golf balls or practicing, they know there's something going on. Yeah, I'm not the range rat whatsoever. And I'm actually not even known for hitting too many golf balls before I go play in a tournament as well. I'm not quite the Tim Perrone, like just kind of walking around warm up, but I don't do a lot of warm up.
How about you, Doctor? How often during a regular week, when you don't have something coming up or something major in terms of a tournament, what is your weekly practice routine like?
So I'm a little bit different. I'm sort of on the opposite end of the spectrum, where I think being a teacher and teaching 8 hours a day, I'm constantly practicing because I'm running the information through my mind. I'm putting myself in positions, I'm demonstrating. And so all of that is just reinforcing my own movements through teaching. So I think that's partly helpful. But I'm the kind that if I take like 3 or 4 days off, I already feel a little bit rusty. So I try to do something golf related every single day, whether that's 20 minutes of putting before my first lesson comes, or I stay after for 15, 20 minutes at the end to just at least hit a couple of golf balls. I'm definitely a range rat. I love hitting golf balls. I'd probably rather hit golf balls than go play on the golf course if I had to pick which one I was going to do. So in the course of a week, I'm probably at least at minimum 7 to 10 hours of practice on just like baseline. And for me, I feel like that just is maintenance. But if I have an event coming up, then that will certainly boost up to maybe 15 hours during that week. And it's doing stuff at home. It's running my body through patterns. It's being at the golf course. I've tried to take my Thursdays and always try to play 18 holes first thing in the morning so I can play 18 holes in like, I think my record is 1 hour and 45 minutes, but I try to coast in at 2 hours. First one out, do sweeper. And I'm always just constantly learning. So I had this past week, I'll self-disclose for a moment, I had my worst tournament in probably about 8 years, and it was a really important tournament. But I also banked some time at the end of that trip to go shadow Mike Adams down in Florida, to take a lesson and to open up my mind as a growth mindset and to learn to see what can I do better. And I think the realization for me was to try to stop searching for perfect and actually go back to being that kid at Whitmore. Michael and I grew up at the same club, when I didn't have cameras, when I didn't have flight scope, when I didn't have analysis, and I just figured stuff out on the range for hours upon hours on end. And that's something that really brought me a lot of joy. So I think that was a nice realization from something that didn't work so well in my tournament to now creating a little bit of a silver lining and some enlightenment to say, I think I need to get back to my roots of doing things a certain way for my body. So hopefully that kind of gives you a picture of how much practice I put in. It's probably more practice than I really need and maybe brings in a little bit too much of over-analysis, but I feel like that works for me for maintenance.
It's really ironic that the two of you grew up at the same club. There must have been something in the water there. What are the odds? And that you both relocated to the same section, you both have had the same playing success that you've had is really uncanny. Speaking of the work-life balance and the play balance in terms of you two, has there ever been a rock bottom where all three or a combination of the three have just piled up? And, we always talk about how lucky we are to work in this business. And it really is, even from every facet of it is truly, for many years when you get into it, is vocational. Has there ever been a time where the overload or the rock bottom has hit you and it's been overwhelming, almost to the point where you contemplated changing everything? And how'd you get out of it? Because you're obviously not there now.
Do you want to go first?
Michael, Doctor, whoever.
Alison, I mean, honestly, I've been here for 18 years and I have not hit that, thank goodness. You know, it might happen between age 45 and 50 before the, I'm getting old here. I'm getting slow, John. No, I'm not kidding. I'm actually getting faster, guys. But yeah, no, thank goodness. But Alison, I doubt if Alison has either, but Alison, go ahead.
My rock bottom, and if anyone's seen my presentations on athletic trauma, I've already shared this with the attendees, came April 2004. And so after college, I was in this place of starting out my PGA career and didn't really have the support and funds to try to play professionally, nor I don't know if I was in the right headspace to try to go into that lifestyle directly after college either. And then I had a trauma that occurred where my house burned down and everything in it was lost. So golf clubs, trophies, any Florida State memorabilia, which I played for, was gone. I pretty much was left with what I was wearing on my body and my car, and that was it. And so that was rock bottom for me because I felt like the world was sort of against me. I was in my young 20s. I was a bit rebellious. I probably drank too much, made poor choices. So I completely left golf. I didn't play golf. I didn't want golf clubs. I didn't want anything to do with it. I moved back to St. Louis and I started bartending. And I worked at Whitmore for a couple of months with my childhood golf pro who was like, no, we're going to get you on Callaway's staff. We're going to get clubs back in your hand. I'm going to force you to go play in this pro-am. And so he really kind of encouraged me to get back into golf. And then lo and behold, as I was trying to figure out what to do in my life, an ad came up for this company called Golf Tech, up and coming company with all this cool technology in this really cool city called Santa Monica. And I thought, wow, that would be really cool to get back to some palm trees. And so I landed the interview and they hired me and I moved back to California and I still didn't play golf, but I taught almost 300 lessons a month. And just being around golf and being around seeing people get better started to make me think maybe I should swing a club again. So it was probably the course of about 2 years where I just really could give two craps about golf. And that was definitely rock bottom for me. From Golf Tech, I got recruited to be a pro at Sherwood. And the director of golf at the time, Ian Langford, was the one who said, you need to play golf. Let's go on the golf course. And he would drag me out there. And that's when my love for it started to grow again. And so that space between 2004 to 2006 was probably the lowest point for me. But it was also the point that really allowed me to be firm in the choices and decisions that I wanted to make in my life. And upon reflection, we always have a little bit of 2020. That was probably one of the best things that it could have happened to me, so that it pointed me into the right direction and the right trajectory that I'm on now.
Fantastic. Is there anything in your work-life play balance practice or routine that would surprise us, Doctor?
Surprise you.
Stumped. How about you, Michael?
I don't really hide too much. Yeah, it's it's pretty obvious, you know. I mean, I get after it. I like to play for a lot of money when I go play. You know, I'm like Alison. I just don't go play casually. Except I have been playing in the Friday night 9-hole couples scramble as of late at Dove Canyon Country Club. So I mean, you know, I'm putting on like Hawaiian outfits and stuff. I try to be low pro so no one even notices me. But yeah, it's, you know, but yeah, that'd probably surprise people that I play in the couples scrambles at Dove. Yeah, that would be it.
They don't notice you until they see you swing. Then they're like, "Whoa, that's not." I haven't seen that in the couples invitational recently.
No, yeah, we're a very popular couple because I like the white keys.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, Another question coming in here. If money wasn't involved in the play aspect of your life, would you do it as much as you do, Michael?
Me? Tournament golf, I've always created goals that had nothing to do with money. Zero. So like, section player of the year, winning section championship, that has nothing to do with money whatsoever. I'd be doing it all day, every day. Playing in tour events has nothing to do with money. The experiences are amazing. Being able to play in a major championship, US Opens, PGA championships, that has zero to do with money. When I go out and play, usually on Fridays, I play 36 holes. That's kind of my deal. When I play 36 holes, I don't know if I'd play 36 for fun. I mean, I'm having fun, don't get me wrong, but my fun entails the money aspect of it. So I hate losing it, and I do, but I love winning it.
Yeah, I know that you probably, in those Friday games, you play with a fair amount of the Junior Munguias of the world, and there's always some skin in that game for sure. How about you, Doctor?
Okay, so this will be interesting, and maybe this is the one thing that's interesting. I don't like gambling or betting because I don't like losing money. So performing in tournaments, like I don't make a lot of money from golf tournaments. I make way more money teaching and in my mental coaching than I do anything else. I play honestly for two things. One is to see how good I can be, so that's my personal pride. And two, if I didn't have my background blurred, you'll see right behind you all of those shiny things behind Michael. Ever since I was a kid, there's something about a trophy and like the shininess and the holding it and then collecting it. Like golf tournaments for me is like trying to get that little carrot of the trophy. Whether there's a paycheck involved or not, that's totally not important. But it's like that little inner kid inside of me that wants that gold star, and that's honestly what I sign up for golf tournaments for.
I had a feeling that the two of you would answer that way. It's like you look at the top 10 players in the world, they're not really playing for money. Once they hit that stature and they've got that kind of income and that kind of sponsorship income, it's not about the money. It's about the trophies and it's about the prestige of playing well and competing. Is there a way for your hobby to in your profession? Because golf, you're playing for both of you. It's very much one of your hobbies. You do it more than you fly fish. You do it more than you basket weave. Your golf games are definitely hobbies. For that to also be your profession, does it make it more difficult to have balance?
I have no balance. It's golf, and golf on for the Block household. That's all we do. My wife's now addicted too, so it's really bad now. She at least got us away from the golf course every once in a while, but now she's addicted, so we literally just golf. Both of my boys are now into it. It's insane, but our vacations are golf, usually golf tournaments. And now even if we just go to the desert for President's Weekend, guess what we're doing? We're golfing. So that's all the Blocks do now. If I'm not working, I'm golfing, and it's the best thing that I could ask for. I do kind of wish that, I had the availability to go fly fishing, like you said, or something like that. But when it comes down to it, I have such a passion for this sport. It's ridiculous. And I'm lucky enough to now have the family associated with the sport as well. And who knows, one of my boys might end up being in the PGA of America or on the PGA Tour or something like that, which would be pretty cool.
Speaking of the boys, what's their school play golf balance like right now? How committed are they to the game? What's their week look like?
Dylan, my oldest son, that's all he does. He works out 2 hours a day and then practices the rest of the day. I've never seen him do homework in my life. So he's somewhat reminiscent of his pops. And then the youngest one has quit soccer, focused on golf and mountain biking. But both of them are on the varsity team at Tesoro High School, and we'll see where it takes him. Dylan, he does things with a golf ball I can only dream of. And I'm actually enjoying being around him and watching him play more than me. It's so funny now to go to an event and he's, I just tell him to hit it over that bunker 320 out there. And I'm like, I'd have to thread it through the bunkers, and it's just a different game. And that's what you see on the tour too. But it's very, very cool to have both of my boys. I'm very, very lucky because I talk to a lot of other fellow professionals that their children haven't gotten into the sport. And I feel bad for them because it's just such a great way to be able to spend time with your boys who are 17 and 15 years old that normally, you know, they don't want to be around mom and dad. So I never pushed them whatsoever into it, but they've definitely both fallen in love with it.
So when we talk about, Dr. Curdt had said something really interesting in the beginning of this interview. She talked about the debits and the credits, and that kind of became a theme for some of the questions. For many of us, the work-life balance is never in balance. It's really like a teeter-totter. It's a seesaw. You're either up or you're down, and you're in one area of intensity at the expense of the other areas. In particular, Dr. predominantly professionally, you teach, and so you can control how busy you are. But Michael, you run an operation, and you're very much in golf operations there at Arroyo Trabuco, where you don't have direct control over the busyness of your property. How do you manage the mania of running a golf operation at a fairly busy Orange County property? How do you keep up with it?
Yeah, that's the tough part. But by far and away, the biggest thing was just getting everything dialed in from the beginning of the club back in 2004, and making sure everything's set up in line where it's, it's huge for me to be able to go play in a tournament and to go play in the National Club Pro and not be stressed out having to call the club 5 times a day. And the only way that happens is if you have a great staff underneath you, which I've been lucky enough to always have a great staff. If I didn't have that, there's no way in the world I'm out there playing in these events, and there's no way in the world I'd still have a job. So I've been very fortunate to have a lot of these great PGA professionals that you guys know, Chris Longo, Bobby Nickel, and there's other ones that you may not know. But, I've always been very fortunate in that. I've been very careful on who I hire. And that's what's been able to have this, the facility run. We have a great staff here. Our director of operations, GM, are fantastic, very supportive. And, we've all found kind of our niche on what we enjoy doing at the club and what we're good at. I'm not very good at Excel programs. I'll tell you that. I'm not a big fan of them. But then I got Jeff Cram, Mr. Certified PGA guy, over there in the other office that, man, he can do things with with those cells that I could only dream of. And he likes it, which, but I can play golf and he can't. No, I didn't say that. Sorry, Jeff. Alison.
So, Michael, and your reputation and your popularity and your success probably also helps your golf operation from a recruiting standpoint. There's young guys in the business and young gals in the business that are dying to go work for you. I mean, we all see it. And I'm in golf operations as well. And finding talent and being able to replace talent when good talent moves on, which good talent always does, is a huge challenge. And it seems that since the pandemic, it's even more difficult than it was before, finding people that are interested in doing this for a living. No question that your popularity as a player and the success that you've had in this industry most certainly helps from a recruiting standpoint in terms of making sure your golf operation is always stocked with fresh talent that allows you to take the time off that you do when you need to when you're out playing. Doctor, question for you. How do you keep your interest? I mean, we talked a little bit about trophies, and it's certainly not about the money. How do the two of you, or particularly Doctor first, how do you keep your interest level high in your playing ability? Because obviously your interest stays in teaching because that's your livelihood. That's how you make your money, your private practice as well. But how do you keep your interest in the game of golf? How do you stay a golf fan?
For me, that's just true goal setting. And so I have set myself 5, 10, 15-year goals. What does it look when I become a senior player? God forbid, whenever that happens. What's life going to look like there? And so I have these goals and these benchmarks set out. And that's what keeps me going, because I'm so goal-oriented and goal-driven that in order to achieve those goals, that really fuels me. That's my dopamine release. And when I don't accomplish a goal, it gets me more fired up, gets me more angry, it gets me more fueled to make sure that I try to do better, train better, be smarter, be wiser on the golf course, to accomplish that next goal. And this is something that I explain to my students a lot, is that golf is like a never ending thing. You never like really tap out, like, oh, I've hit the mark, I've tapped out, because you just never know how good you can actually get. The potential, I believe, my belief in golf is unlimited. And so I think that with that philosophy, I just never know how good I could potentially be. So I'm going to continue striving and working to get as good as I can be at it. And I'm going to help my students do the same thing.
Michael, where does physical fitness and nutrition play in a part of your play balance?
To be honest, I've gone after working out 3 times, I believe, in my career, and all 3 times somehow during that like 6 months of each one of them, I played the worst golf of my life. So I'm not like, you know, it hasn't worked for me yet. At the same time, I have both of my boys absolutely addicted to the program, and I've put it towards them where, hey, daddy only hits a 285 in the air. Daddy's not on the tour. If you want to be on the tour, you need it 305, 310, 315 in the air now. So you have to work out now, in my mind, in order to, if you want to succeed on the PGA Tour moving forward. For myself, you know, what did Freddie Couples say? You can't pull fat. Is that what he said, John?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, but from a cardio standpoint, I mean, you walk a lot of golf, and especially when you're playing in tour events, you're walking a lot. You're spending the whole week walking. What do you do to keep up with your cardio? Because you must do something.
Play golf. I really don't. I walk my dog. You know, that's about it. I mean, I wish I could say I'm on the treadmill every morning, but I'm not. I wish I was in a little better shape, because, you know, I'm not shy about my food and going out with friends, you know, at section events. So, you know, everyone kind of knows my story, but, you know, I wish I worked out and I did a lot of things. I honestly don't. I'm very lucky that I've been fortunate enough to not get hurt. Feels like every time I've actually tried to get in better shape, I tend to start getting tight. And when I get tight, my swing doesn't work very well.
How about you, Doctor? What do you do to keep up with your cardio and your physical fitness in terms of your play?
Well, I, like Michael, like to eat, and I would probably be 900 pounds if I didn't work out as much as I did, because I definitely love sugar. Cupcakes and cake, I cannot say no to. So I actually work out probably 6 days a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday is high intensity interval cardio. That's at 5:45 to 6:15. It's like a group class. Tuesdays and Thursdays, high intensity interval training, but it's weight based. Then I'm currently in a speed stick, super speed stick, rip stick training program. So I'll do that once I come home from work. And then Sundays, I'm still keeping up with my running. So I did my first marathon last November for the PGA of America in New York City. And that kind of really got my juices flowing for long distance running. And I think I might want to do another one. So I make sure to sprinkle in some runs throughout the week too. But Sunday is kind of reserved for that long run time. But all of that I feel like is just needed for baseline because of how much I eat. So if I didn't work out that much, I would look much different.
Michael, what is the most stressful aspect of your work-life play balance?
I never sit down. I'm never, like, I was just talking to my dad last night at dinner, and we went to dinner with him, and he's like, you never just relax. And I'm like, it's true. I mean, that's my one problem, that I never sit on the couch, really, ever. My days off, I'm never at the house. I don't wander around the yard fixing things. And trust me, you don't want me to fix anything, because I'm horrible at it. I'll just break it. So for me, it's just, you know, every once in a while, I just need, you know, half a day to just, you know, go in the backyard and just, you know, hang out with my dog and stuff like that. But I just have a really tough time. My wife's always like, Dad, you just got to get out of the house, because I can't really just sit still and not do anything. I start breaking things. So yeah, for me, it's just, but at the same time, if you see my calendar, every single day is lessons, work, tournament, lessons, work, tournament, fly here, do this, do that, whatsoever, you know, sure, with Alison as well. I don't really like having days off, because I don't have any. And my vacations are not vacations. I guarantee you that. As Alison knows, you go play in a tour event or a national championship or for the PGA Cup like Alison has, it's stressful, and those are our days off. So that's the one thing that is probably the most stressful part about the life that Alison and I have.
You know, you're not relaxing when the most rest and relaxation you get is when you're sitting on a plane, probably, Michael. How about you, doctor? What's the most stressful aspect of your balance?
Oh, I completely echo that comment. Like, I was on a plane last night coming back from Orlando, and I was like, oh my gosh, I get to read a book. I get to watch a Netflix show. I have like 4.5 hours where I cannot answer an email or take a conference call. Oh my gosh. So I watched a movie. That was amazing. I think the most stressful part for me is in my job, if I'm not on my feet, I'm not making money. So it's not my gig isn't a salary gig. So it's really how much I work is going to be how much I make. So sometimes I get a little bit anxious when I have too many tournaments booked in one week, and I know that if I don't make a check that week, I'm actually not making lesson income, and that's going to be a big negative on the books, where I have to kind of balance and rationalize, well, if I would have taught those 8 lessons at X amount of money, I would be okay. So the most stressful part for me is being away from my work, because if I'm not on my feet, I'm not making money. And that's something that I need to kind of plan a bit better in the future, is how to have residual income in, so that I can take time to maybe have a couple of days off and not worry that there's no income coming in that particular day.
See that. I can see that. If you're not on your feet, you're not making money. So when you're not on your feet, you're stressing about not making money, and thus not taking full advantage of the rest time. Well, the two of you, thank you very, very much for joining us on the webcast this morning. I know you guys' time is very valuable, and we're grateful that you carved out a little chunk of it for us this morning. For all the Catalyst webinar attendees this morning, you will be receiving 1 MSR credit for watching the interview this morning. And you'll also be able to access this interview on YouTube through the Education Catalyst landing page on the section website. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Dr. Michael, thank you very much for carving out some time for us this morning. We're grateful, and take care, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.